Hello, that is right now. It is Fundamental Secrets TMS, and in this video, we're going to be guiding ourselves through PD 2 and 3 in 14th class. How does this work? Well, we realize that the Boolean algorithm was folding in on itself linguistically, forming cardiographs. Words build on words build on words. So let's write the word amuse and lowercase amuse and cursive amuse, and all are logically moved with a kind of block system that blocks itself and creates a concatenated order. Concatenated. And the rule base here is that you use those concatenated graphs to write what you want to write. So amuse in different levels. I can say in a subjective view, there are more subjects built, and it leaves it ominous. It's ominous title, and it non-descriptive really, and repetitive, and it can just repeat in higher levels unless you have like a linguistic map of what you can use. And this is for personal development 2 and 3. And the reason why this works is if you really want to go to absolute infinity, you concatenate that absolute infinity with different absolute infinities. And it's Boolean. Instead of actually going to infinity, aleph infinity, omega infinity, you're using the infinities that you already process in your mind to perceive the absolute, which is just imperative, but imperative with loss. So you don't really get much, but more loss. And the system repeats unless you're able to stretch your ego. And stretching your ego is kind of like a step size in multiple ways. It can be through up, down, left, right, centralized, or different effects like waving or electric or magical. But yeah, it's just don't think about that too much, but that makes it even more complicated. You never really wanted absolute infinity in the end, so you just wanted to make it harder for yourself to learn again, go through nirvana and fall back to samsara. But you don't really do that because you think more logically now. Logical about the whole process that you just went on, realizing that, well, I should have just paid attention to what people were saying. But that's not actually the truth anymore because you never really went through infinity. You can't, because it's just a thought process that you regurgitated and you thought it was possible. The only reason you got to it was because you were thinking in a intuition or novelty or religious thought that leads you to a certain place. It doesn't get you anywhere unless you do go through it, and then logic is completely shifted because you just mess with your brain's neurochemistry. And that's this whole thing. Spirituality is neurochemistry makeup. You try to use your neurochemistry to feel better or worse or not, and you create linear processes where you think extremely linear, or you think in waves or nosfels, sidentas, debas, plebos, glebars, or different strategic ways, betterment. the cool thing about Betterment is you use it once and you don't really use it again unless you find a new system that can structure itself just like Betterment, and we already have that. It's a Boolean algorithm that folds in on itself and also doesn't regurgitate but non-permutes, and actually creates a sustaining system that actually helps permutation systems work opposite than what it actually is. So that is a little bit for personal development. If you don't want to go through absolute infinity, you go through a similar process, but you see that personal development 1 was just one shell, and if you already achieved part of personal development 2 and you're still on the path and it still kind of similarly defines itself, then where you're going is probably the same life force or different depending on what you think. But the self-similarity has to be disproved over and over and over again, and that disproving makes it harder to learn from whatever you have now. Interpret, on, off, system, actuate, downward spiral, connectivity, labels, all of it can form an organism, and that organism is the codex, and it systematically operates forever if you want it to work forever in your mind. Or you could just use this to not humble down per se, but use this as the gravity or the anchor for more success in a not elevated but inflated lens, that then after you inflate you can basically do whatever you want in subjective space, create your own internal language that could potentially disprove or dismantle or regenerate the original. And the problem here is that when beta males start to learn alternatively, they overthrow the alpha, but they don't really overthrow the alpha. The alpha feels defeated, but it could be the alpha within yourself. The beta dominates, and then the system repeats for the omega or sigma, unless we divert the whole hierarchical system and flip it upside down, or flip it in many directions, so it's a self-similar triangle fracture that makes star tetrahedrons and fractalizes around itself. You can have a node, two nodes that make an edge, or a point that's holographic in 1D that self-absorbs and self-collapses to half dots, quarter dots, and that's kind of how you get a smaller percentage of ego. Or you could expand your ego by inducing, oh, that's gonna be cool. It's not ego inflation, this is a whole new system. I'm gonna design a system called EAFG Pulsar Divide into Navigated Asphalt Choreograph. Percentage wise, increase, decrease, logical spiral, mapping, tracing effect. Pulsar particle ego SAD1F235 exclamation mark. That name itself identifies with itself to create Undred. Undred is he is a Time Lord from Gallifrey, but with this system I'll act as Undred as High Council Leader and Council King. High Council King, but I'm not literally the king. It's a fake algorithm that is actually true in a way, but it's not true that it is true that it's not true. But doing that, you can make non-linear proofs that don't even make any utter sense to anyone that you would ever think, creating a logical spiral algorithm that can never be decoded by anyone because you already have the system to yourself. So it's pretty much free equality. a dual equality, actually, if you're able to expand your mind from unary to binary thoughts as logical operators, not using numbers as what they originally are, but finding accomplishment.